Anyway, we have those days. We have these days. This is a look back at 2011 in flooding, again in western Kentucky. Sure Bill Call remembers some of this. Look at some of these satellite views. This is like a normal view of the Mississippi River. Look at this crap. I mean, it looks like, you know, a lake. This is like one of the flood walls down in, I mean, it almost popped down there in poor Fulton County and all that. That's why they had to blow some of these spillways. You know, the farmers didn't like that, but saved some towns.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of I tried to show stuff that ham radio actually did play a part in. I don't have to say anything about this, do I? Everybody knows what this is.
Yeah.
Someday.
This is actually the old simulation on the upper part of the fault of a 7.7. This was run for the 2011 exercise we did with FEMA. Notice where they show the greatest area of damage. This was just run. Now notice something different. They moved the focal epicenter down more in Arkansas. Something interesting happened. They've gotten more and more good at mapping this fault system. All right. Now what's happened with this is look how far and how focused the energy is coming up into West Kentucky, even all the way up into the Louisville area. That's getting scary.
You just had that 2.3.
Yeah, that was the other morning. Yesterday morning, there was a series of two earthquakes. They happen all day. Every day. There's ones, twos around there. But anyway, that's going to happen.
I'm in the red.
When it does happen, these are projections. It's probably going to look something like this. I hate to say that, but West Kentucky will.
It's going to be gone.
It's going to be a lake.
If you live in West Kentucky, leave now.
Yeah.
If you see, and it's sad because all my family and friends are down there. I mean, it's it. But anyway, this line, everything, this side of that line is going to be disastrous. In here, it's going to be very bad. And we're thinking communications past this line right here is going to be real bad, if there is any. Another look at it this way. These numbers are just horrendous. I mean, if you can read some of those numbers, that's scary as hell. That's probably very realistic. So when you're calling up here for items, I guarantee you some of the items that you're going to call for are large trash bags. Anybody know what that means?
Body bags.
Yep. Large trash bags. Yep. Unfortunately, that's probably going to be in your request. I don't have to say anything about the far side over there. We just had the anniversary of the 9/11 event. Unfortunately, we have terrorism events. I don't see our risk lowered after 9/11. I think it's just going up. That's going to happen again. Anybody recognize this?
Is that Bullitt County?
That's Bullitt County, 2007.
I remember that.
Now we just had another one, and Shelby can tell you all about the other one. Yeah, and I had a better picture of this one, so I chose that one because I actually had the evacuation plan on that one. But anyway, both of these disasters, ham radio participate. We actually had the blue truck go into that one. We did in this last one, but it went to the 2007. In 2001, I ripped out. Bob put the word out because they were pretty shut down at the EOC back then. We didn't have that many phone lines. The internet was not that good back then, as it is now. Still ain't that great. And all our cell phones were jammed up. So I ripped out almost every radio I had in my car and put it in the EOC and operated the day and found that we could actually talk to the Pentagon, because they did the same thing out in the grass of the Pentagon. They set up a ham radio station and started in it. And we checked in along with several other state EOCs. So that was the real deal. Anybody recognize what that is? If you don't, you need to write down this address right here. This www.quick.gov. That's the Public Safety Working Group website, where you can download your copy of the Kentucky Field Operation Guide. You may have heard of the IFOG, that's the federal operation guide, but Kentucky now has their own. And it uses the same channels that are in the interop, or the federal interop plant, but we also have two special channels, VMA and UMA. Now, if you recognize these channels right here, you should recognize these channels. Every one of your radios should have these channels programmed in there. Well, whether you've modified we're not going to get into that debate, but whether you've modified your radio or not.
Sometimes you just drop a radio and the resistor pops off.
Yeah, you need
Amazing how that happens.
you need to have those in your radio. All right, I prescribed those. Bob prescribed those when he was communicating. Charlie prescribed. Everybody have these in their radios. If it gets real and you need to talk to public safety, and all you have is your ham radio and you have these channels in there, they're warming up to this. We've got a lot of training and a lot of education still to do. But let me explain. KSP posts monitor several interop channels. VMA and UMA are the V and U channels they monitor. They also monitor 8-call 9, when most of us don't have a 800 megahertz radio. And those are really only in the big metro, yeah, he did. Only, those are in the really metropolitan areas like Paducah, Owensboro, Louisville, Lexington, Madison, and up north Kentucky. But the neat thing about this book is when you download it, you will see each KSP area is broken out. They will show you the tower sites and what they have there. So if you're in the field at responding to something and assisting with something, and you flip open your book and say, okay, I'm close to this tower, what do I have here? Well, this tower has UHF and VHF interop. There you go. This tower has 800 and V. Okay, so you know. Case in point, over in West Liberty, those folks had none of this programmed in their radio. They were, what, Bob, weren't they right under a UHF interop tower and could have used the UHF interop channels had they had that stuff programmed in their radio? They hadn't heard of it.
I would question whether they are still.
Yeah, they're probably not. Anyway.
And if they do, they may not even know how to access it.
That's
the
true.
problem here in Louisville.
That's
Or
true.
in Louisville. They gotta know.
What about the narrow banding issue with some channels?
They are narrow.
They are narrow.
Been there.
They are.
Many ham rigs will not do narrow.
Some-
Most new ones will.
Most
Yeah.
of your new ham radio rigs will. To be honest, a lot of the narrow banding is still not done yet in public safety. There's still a lot of lagging folks that haven't touched their system.
And even if they're operating on narrow band in your own traditional wideband FM, it's still intelligible. You know,
Yeah.
It's gonna clip you some, but it's still.
Just don't talk in your mic like this with a real loud voice. Pull it back, because you're gonna have to cut your deviation down. Go ahead, Bob.
May I add, I'm editorializing for a minute. On the previous slide, he showed this Kentucky State Police infrastructure. Millions of dollars went into putting all these repeaters in, particularly on UHF. Most of the VHF stuff is all simplex.
Oh, let me explain that real quick.
Yeah.
These channels are all simplex. All simplex. There's no repeater here. These channels, when you see a D, that's not digital. That's direct. Okay, so you not only program these channels are a repeater channel. Every one of these interop places, like Jephthah Knob and Ball Knob up here, They have 4 different repeaters tied to this thing, and you key them up, and they will repeat.
You get a squash tape.
All right, you will get a squelch tail. So, when you program these in here, you program the direct ones in just in case you want to operate direct. But anyway, that's just, and the same thing is on the 800 side too. You have they are all repeated, they're repeaters, but they also have the digital, or excuse
Direct.
me, the direct in there. Yep.
I'm gonna finish my editorial comment here. Most all of public safety may or may not have these programmed, number one. But even on a big scene, getting them to switch to an interoperability frequency, probably ain't gonna happen.
Yep.
It won't do it.
Not your job though. Don't get into that debate.
Yeah, don't go there. However, you could be helpful by knowing that they exist, and you could whisper in the public safety guy, you know, if you guys run over here this interoperability frequency on this plane crash in Western Kentucky, we could all have talked.
Who in here has had Auxcom yet? All right, there's a class coming up. Go to the KYEM website, go to training, go sign up and go to West Kentucky, take the class. All right, there's still seats available, but it's not gonna last too long. That's coming up next month.
17th, 18th.
There you go.
What's the class really consist of?
Okay, Auxcom, I can answer that on the side, but it gets into part of communication unit leadership, but on a ham radio side.
Okay.
Okay, so it's crossing kind of into some public safety stuff, but it will teach you a cool amount of stuff in ham radio in dealing with public safety.
Okay.
All right, it's a very cool class.
It's called what?
Auxcom.
AUXCOMF.
Basically, you have a communication unit leader, ComL, you have a ComT, communication tech, and you have the Auxcom. And they're actually coming out with a few more, but they're confusing. We'll look real quick. How much time we got? Somebody keep the time?
Most times you know the 15th.
About 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
You're
Can I
good.
comment on your Oxcom class?
Yes, go ahead.
If you can't make it, you can always download it off the internet. It is posted on.
Well, that is it is posted, but that's a class you have to have in a classroom environment
Understand.
to get credit.
I understand that, but if you can't make it,
Yes,
and it's only offered once a year,
we're working on that.
Is that a weekend or is that a week?
It's a weekend.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
It's over at National Guard Armory last time I checked.
It's on the campus of Murray State at West Kentucky, I believe. Hopkinsville. Real quick, does anybody have any questions, comments real quick on that? I know it's a lot.
Well, just a couple of comments real quick on the mutual aid background. There are some designated repeater splits on the VHF side, but they're only available when somebody sets up a tactical repeater. They're not open on a day-to-day basis, but they basically take a couple of the simplex channels and turn them into a repeater split. They're pre-designated those, which worth programming. Second thing,
VTAC,
3.4, 3.3.
Yeah, but there's 6 of them actually.
But the 3.3 and 3.4 seem to be the ones that are most commonly, we actually set up repeaters for. Other things, speaking from the public safety side, we are getting better at it. It takes us a while, but we are getting better at actually talking to each other. Now, if I can just get all my colleagues in law enforcement to turn off the blinking encryption, quickly blinking digital standards, I'd be happy. But last thing, speaking from the public safety side, and as a ham operator, if you show up, don't be surprised if someone hands you something that is not an amateur radio. They may hand you a police radio, a fire radio, an FRS radio, and say, okay, I got 3 nets relay. And you might not touch an amateur rig all weekend. It happens. So one of the things I've run into in areas sometimes is some of our folks get so focused that I'm an amateur radio operator that they forget that they're a professional communicator when it comes down to being involved in an emergency. And they want to stick with their HF rig and their 2 meter because that's what they're comfortable with and they know that process. But don't be surprised if you're assisting in a real emergency or disaster whoever's in charge of communications doesn't put you to being effectively a field dispatcher for law enforcement or rescue or fire or whomever. And maybe you're using a 2-meter net and maybe you're using 800 megahertz police or all the above. So,
You know where that changed big time? 2009 ice storm. 2009 ice storm, we had a bunch of hams that showed up down in Callaway County and in Benton at the Benton Armory in Martin County. And the EM down there basically put them to work because they didn't have time to run communications. So the hams got to run communications. They were on the satellite. They were on there. They were taking care of it. They took care of business.
People couldn't come in.
No.
It was a disaster.
Yeah. So, and by the way, that was the only time that I had ever talked to a mayor who I'm really sad to say was, I felt him. I said a personal prayer, but he was in sad shape and was trying to relay in everything that he needed from like Fulton County or way down there, probably Ballard County, and wondering why we weren't there in 30 minutes with all his stuff. With doing his ice.
Oh, man.
And a lot of what Patrick had said with the
Oh.
ice storm, you see all these nice pictures of the ELC radio. He can tell you real quick, during that ice storm, we were in a really little room,
Yeah.
a fold-out table, that a person sitting here, you had to get up and let the other person out. The radios and phone were sitting on these fold-out tables. That's how far it's went from the ice storm to what you've seen in these pictures.
I can show you a picture of that, but it ain't pretty. We were stuck in a communications qualification.
This may be off the subject, but quickly, with a new 911 PSAP and so forth going in, what NIFOG frequencies, what would you expect to be done?
I program all of those.
Even
All of
if
the
they never heard of NIFOG.
I don't care. If you have any pull whatsoever with your local government, you mandate, or the agency who's over the radios or who's programming the radios, I mandate it for all of our new Franklin County and public safety radios that we have these interop channels in our radios, and we have them in there. Now, they may not like them and use them or know what they are. They know they're there.
you'll find them in a hurry if they really need them.
If your new public safety, new PSAP goes in,
Goes in 1 month,
well,
and it'll be the newest of the.
will it have VHF? What is the predominant frequency?
The
Well,
only.
Yeah.
Every radio that will go in there, if it's new enough, will have the capability of having the
But they
interoperability.
have to be programmed.
Well, the vendor
The vendor does it.
ought to go to jail if he does not insist that they go in
We have a
there.
Let
new
me,
vendor, so we don't know anything about
Hey,
them. The
Shelby.
old vendor would not have done so.
Any new vendor who has been to a APCO convention or does APCO is steeped in interoperability. The issue becomes whether or not your elected officials and your appointed officials care.
Yeah.
May not, but you can encourage them. And
Sure.
there may be only one radio, for example, like that will do the V.
Shelby, what you do,
No,
we're
it's-
getting off topic.
Yeah, I know, right, that's what I was-
What you do is you get involved and you work with the whoever that radio vendor is, and you say, look, we need these channels.
We're just about there, but
That's all you gotta do.
I needed that final push
We're-
for the next phone call.
We're gonna look at this real quick. Now, this is still preliminary. Who all participated in the exercise this year? All right, got lots of participation in this. Hey, guess what? Oh, hey, let's have a gigantic solar flare right when we start the exercise.
Smoke signals.
Yeah, that,
Pigeons.
HF ain't gonna work. So, this is real world. This is what happens.
Tropo, baby. Tropo.
Unfortunately, that's,
Much better now.
that was perfectly planned for the beginning of our exercise. So, anyway, we didn't do that bad. Basically, now these are prelim, 81 check-ins on HF, about 143 VNU, and our crossband airborne repair. How many like that? That's fun, isn't it?
That's pretty cool.
God bless Kimber. He's got it going now. We've mastered it. 61 on that. And you can see we've got lots of health departments, lots of hospitals, lots of VOCs. This is just a little bit of a selection of what we got. Looking at our coverage area, now I know there's some folks that comment, well, he just wants to color in some, well, this is the only way to actually show it and present it to the upper chain of command. Okay, so that's why we present it this way, because they can understand it.
They like colors.
Yeah, they like. So anyway, they can look at this and say, oh yeah, okay, we got these EOCs. The EOCs are in blue. Oh, we got the Benton Armory, okay. But you see all this space. We didn't get anybody there. Well, okay. But you can see where the EOCs are that we got, and the hospitals and all that, and that's really what they want. They want to focus on communicating with the EOC. I mean, operating from home is great, and we know we can do it, and sometimes that's the only thing we can do, especially like in the big storms. But they want to focus on the infrastructure and just to compare to 2014, notice like North Kentucky. North Kentucky just knocked it out of the park. I don't know what happened. People got stuff to do, you know. It happens. But like, I know that we have ham radio support and equipment in every one of them hospitals. Public health put them in. So what happened this year? I don't know. Maybe it just didn't get coordinated. We lost a lot of far east Kentucky, I think, because we did not get in on that Echo Link connection to over there. It's okay. We'll do better next year. If we look at HF, this is a combined HF, and obviously it sucked. We didn't have HF. We got lucky on some, and we had a couple of, who relayed for us in here? Anybody relay stations? Okay, we get.
And I'm not listed up, my county's not listed
We're-
up there. Crazy.
It should have been. Okay, I said it's preliminary.
That's a little off.
Preliminary. You see right there? Preliminary. Basically, this is me going through the whole list, going, trying to read it. I apologize.
I'm over.
I will say. I will say we'll do better next year. We'll do better next year.
Yeah, the paperwork is kind of intense when you start doing it.
Yeah.
And then trying to read some people's writing.
That's a recording problem.
It depends on who's writing it down too. We're getting better where we can log everything on the computer. That's what we need to work on. The Simplex VHF, I'm really amazed at how we got one of these. I don't know how that happened, but
Some guy with a 500-foot tower and a 1,000-watt amp.
I don't know how that happened, but I can tell you for a fact that we can get Henderson from Frankfurt, but we still have to go through the bullet repeater. So I'm not really sure how he did that, but he did.
You've got a nice station there at Madison.
I don't know what happened. This is a look at the UHF link, Will's link system, which is pretty impressive. And I think what I heard, what part of it was not working, but we still did pretty good on that. We usually do better. And this was the Madison County net. I went ahead and put it on there because of our CSET function. Lots of participation in that. And then this is the airborne repeater. And got lots of participation in that. I'll get to the final points here. This is some interesting things that we found out. He basically averages 10,000 feet. which is way the heck up there. If you're a pilot like Bob, you know, you can't, that's about it. You can't go any further without oxygen. But anyway, we ran into a couple of places here that we discovered have unknown interference, and it kind of locked up the repeater a minute. So we were like praying and having our fingers crossed that it would unlock, because we really didn't have any connection with Kimber to talk direct to him. We're working on that too. But anyway, there's two places that it actually happened, and one's near Paris, Kentucky, and one was just south of E-Town. But other than that, we may need to adjust his timeout timer, but it worked great. And I would not be surprised if we had to use that one day. We could probably push some digital through there, some MT63. I don't see why we couldn't do that, as long as you didn't kill the timeout timer on it.
6 minutes works for us through the repeater.
Yeah.
For that.
So we had really good participation this year, despite some solar activity that really was bad. But great support with Ares. Our simplex from our new tower system is great. In fact, we were keying up repeaters in Virginia because we had a wrong PL, I think, and something else set that we thought was a local repeater, and they got on there and said, "Hi, how you doing? This is Virginia." So anyway, we got by the way, the APRS worked this year. I had tested it the day before, worked great. Took it outside for like 5 seconds. Boom, it was in the system. Came out today, the Comex, nothing. Changed the batteries in it twice, nothing. I don't know what was wrong with it. Took it over to the flipping plane, nothing. So I'm calling back to the guys watching the screen, and you know, finally, by the time Kimber took off, it was on. So I don't know what happened. Could have been the solar storm too. I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, I think we do have another setup, by the way, at our J6 wireless shop that's over the wireless communications. So I think we're gonna spread some of our, I told you 4 people in there is really bad. It's the max that we can do. So I think we're gonna spread out next time and send some operations to our other location on base and operate from there. We need to work on North Kentucky a little bit and see what happened with that. We'll work through our area manager on that. I think our airborne repeater, I think we figured that out, and I think if Kimber is willing to do it, cover a little more and fly a little longer, or maybe make a pit stop and do a longer length of the Kentucky. I mean, he has a limited fuel, obviously, that he can fly, flight time.
And you might want to mention, this comes out of his pocket.
And he's, by the way,
It's
he's
all out of his
funding
pocket.
that. That's his plane, that's his gas, that's, you know, that's everything. That's his
Have you
equipment.
ever seen, hear him
Yeah.
operate, thank him, because this is all his.
I mean, I've got Plan B, and we did it in the NLE exercise. If you guys want to look at this, this is my kit that's ready to go. It is ready to go. And it's all built in a milk crate. It not only has the ham repeater, it has a Mars repeater in there too. And we put it on the belly of the aircraft. This is a state-owned aircraft that already has antenna mounts on it and everything. Problem is funding and getting the aircraft, and it's bad. Anyway, so I think we need to look at that. We have accomplished one thing on here. We ran into some technical difficulties with our equipment there at DOC because the station was not really fully complete yet, but it is now. We still have to repair our big antenna, the one that I showed you, the bow tie. The tuner on it is bad.